What up everybody, Zach D again. In this video I'm going to show you how to install a 50 amp plug. This is a 240 volt plug and it's going to go to a range oven. It can be used for various purposes, but in this instance it's going on a range oven underneath a countertop. So this is what the front of it looks like. As you can see, it doesn't have the L like the 30 amp plug I did in a laundry room for a dryer. On the back it's a very similar setup. It's got the gold screw, green screw, silver screw. In this instance, it has the 6-3 aluminum, so it's got two hot conductors, a neutral and a ground, and they're aluminum. It's very important that you verify which one of these is the neutral. The ground's pretty obvious. These other two are hot legs. Each one of these legs has 120 volts of power if you use your multimeter to test it out. So that's represented in the panel by a 2-pole breaker. This one's a 50 amp. And then again, I just want to say it's very serious that you go check and make sure power's off, whether you use a meter, hot stick, pen tester. Just make sure this power's off. This is not something you really want to get shocked by. You don't want to get shocked by anything. Typically, I do the same thing that I do on the 10 wire. You have to be very, very light on this. You do not want to scar these conductors. It's aluminum, so it's stranded wire. And if you scar this too much, these strands will break off, and it needs the circumference of the wire for power to travel properly. So I don't know if this is the most advisable way to do it. It's quick for me. I've been doing it a while, so you can also use your knife. Sometimes, like when I first started, I'd use my knife. I would just go around it real lightly. Just kind of rotate, line this cut up, then put this away from myself so I can kind of drag my knife down it. Then I use the teeth of my strippers to tear that off. You don't want to strip out too much. You don't want any of this bare conductor to hang out of the plug. Again, if any of these wires come in contact with, like, say, the ground, because this is a difficult plug to get the wire to go back into the box. I'll show you why when we get to that point. But yeah, you don't want any of these 3 conductors to come in contact with the bare ground. It'll arc, and this one's a big arc. So yeah. Another thing, this is aluminum wire. Aluminum wire oxidizes over time, unlike copper. So we have to use some form of this antioxidant joint compound. What I do is I fortunately have this pour spout type situation here, so just kind of squeeze it into these terminals. Some people put it on the wire, but it gets a little messy if you do it that way, so I just do it this way if I can. So I'm going to start with my ground. It's harder with the stranded wire because sometimes it frays apart. So the ground is the hardest one because usually it's been just crammed in this box, so I'll kind of twist it on there. And of course I'll tighten it down. I want to make sure these are real tight when you get them on there. Okay, so then the next in line is this gold screw. I'm going to put one of the legs of power. It doesn't really matter which one you put in there, the red or the black, just as long as you make sure it's one of the wires that has 120 volts coming to it. So I've made my way around to the silver screw. Put this neutral in here. I've already verified that it's got that white stripe, so I know it's the neutral. I've seen it a lot. I know it's tempting to kind of hold this up against the wall. You don't really want to do that. You don't want to scar up the sheetrock trying to get this in. It is a little heavier than just your standard 120 volt plug, so you do have to kind of, I don't know, I use the floor. This is an unfinished subfloor, so it's okay if I just hold this to really get it tight. So this is where the difficulty sets in. This wire is very, very rigid. So what I'll do is I'll kind of start at this back portion of the wire, and I'll just get some folds in there. Just fold as much of this wire as I can in the box. And again, we're really, really trying to get this ground away from any of these screws. So even though it seems kind of wild what I'm gonna do next, I'm literally just gonna kind of put my weight on it, kind of cram it to the back of the box after I get these screws out. Oh, and a good habit to do is every time you use one of your tools, put it back in your bags immediately. It just helps you with muscle memory. And yeah, you'll never forget your tools on the ground, because that's fun, replacing them all the time. So I'm just gonna kind of get my palm and use this to press. Get the screw in a little bit. I don't go all the way. Again, I'll do this, maybe I'll switch hands. I'll get this lined up with the other hole. Get that in a little bit. And then see how it's kind of twisting a little bit. So you gotta find this other hole. And finally, we get the fourth one in. This box is coming out of the wall. It's on an adjustable 2-gang. So I have this screw here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get all these screws tight so I know it's flush against the box. It won't always be like this. Not a lot of people use these. Fortunately, the company I work for right now uses these, so it's pretty nice. So then I'll use this screw to get it set back in. Sometimes if the top of the box is not wanting to go in, you can take this, kind of cut out some of the sheetrock a little bit. And you can use, you know, any one of your tools and sort of assist it in there. It's getting hung up on something. I don't want the box to protrude out of the wall. And, you know, sometimes you gotta play with it. Sometimes it's annoying. So I think I got it good there. Now, of course, I'm gonna put my tools back in my bags. And for the finale, I got the plate. So we got our screws. Now, yeah, see the plate, it's good because this plate's sitting flush against the wall on all sides. This 240 plug is sideways currently. The reason for that being is there's a small gap underneath ovens and you want the plug to plug in and the wire will kind of loop around in that little compartment that they've made on the oven for the power whip to go into. And again, don't over tighten these if you have breakable plates. Even the unbreakable plates, you shouldn't over tighten it because it bows the plate in and it just looks bad and it's not the intended installation preference. So these are a little harder to find because there's 4 of them and the plate's got to line up. So don't get too frustrated. Just kind of shift the plate around until you get these into the hole. And yeah, I cannot stress enough. You do not want to get these too tight. So again, I'm not tightening these all the way down. I'm just making sure I get all these screws landed in the holes. And yeah, sometimes it takes a second. There we go. Okay, and seeing as this plate's sideways, I am gonna put these screws horizontally because I think that runs better with these straight lines. I'm always trying to go for symmetry in all these things I do. And that is a 240 50 amp range plug. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Like, subscribe, comment. You know I'm gonna be back here again, so check out the next one, I guess. Later. All right, cool, I'm gonna vote out.